Hi, I'm Annabelle, and this is my video text analysis for the Creative Writing Storylines paper. I'm going to be discussing the poem The Sea and the Skylark by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Gerard Manley Hopkins is a Victorian poet of the late 1800s. So I first encountered this poem when my speech and drama teacher gave it to me when I was aged 14. She wanted me to perform it for my next speech and drama exam. And I was kind of like, this is so not anything that I'm into. The language is old and stuffy, and I don't really understand what they're talking about. I mean, I had to look up pretty much every third word at that age. But she kind of forced me to engage with it, and in doing that, it's actually become one of my favourite poems, and I've learned even more about how talented Gerard Manley Hopkins is just through the teaching that I've had in creative writing over the past year. So I'm going to just go through a few text analysis points with you guys and kind of hopefully convince you of why I think this is a fantastic poem. So I think what really gets me about The Sea and the Skylark, which is basically a poem where it's a sonnet where Gerard Manley Hopkins basically starts, he's at the seaside and he's talking about how beautiful the sea and this bird, the skylark, who's rising up into the sky. He's talking about how beautiful and wonderful these creatures and this force that God created, or nature created. And then in the sextet, the second half of the poem, he is just basically lamenting this, how ugly, and in his words, sordid the town looks, and how humans are just, you know, they're ugly compared to nature. And I think that once I kind of realized that that was the whole concept he was talking about, I mean, it's a very thought-provoking concept, and it gets you thinking about it. I mean, this poem comes to mind really every time I'm at the seaside now, because his use of language has instilled such strong imagery in my head that it's hard actually not to think of it. And I think that what helps him really instill the imagery in your head is that he's got this real talent to sort of capture the musicality of each object or concept he's trying to describe. So he's talking about the tide and how it's ramping against the shore, and then the flood or a fall, low lull-off or all roar. And when you're speaking those words, you kind of, they sound like waves. They sound like they're rising and falling. And they sound really good together, just like we've learnt from the creative writing paper this semester about sort of solid sounds and liquid sounds, and how, you know, if you're just trying to softly describe something, then you'd use a liquid sound. And he's clearly very passionate, in love almost with the sea, so he is speaking about it very softly. It's very precious to him. And then when he moves on to the town, suddenly it's sordid and turbid, and it's very harsh, abrupt. It's very harsh, abrupt sounds. And it kind of paints this whole harsh, abrupt image of people in the town in your head. You're kind of looking at, I mean, it's the 1800s. Everything's pretty dark looking. We don't have our modern paint colours and all that kind of thing yet. And towns aren't really, I mean, it was in Wales. They're not really known for their vibrancy at the seaside. And I think he really captures that. I think he manages to instill his passion in the reader just because of his long emotive descriptions. You get really involved in it because he's right. I mean, how he's talking, how these two shame this shallow and frail town. You're like, yeah, they do. Like, these natural, beautiful things will never, ever, the town will never compare to that, will never live up to how magical, humans just can't create that. So you're agreeing with him, and you're sort of following the rhythm of the poem, which is very appealing in itself. And then there's the occasional sort of abrupt stop in the middle of each sentence, sort of being pure, we, life's pride and cared for crown. It's got an exclamation point right in the middle of the sentence, and I think what's cool about that is that it stops the poem becoming too repetitive, or the reader getting into a lull, getting too predictable. So I'm definitely going to try and take that away and do that in my own writing. So to embrace musicality, but also to have the element of surprise in there to make the poem slightly different and unexpected, and therefore memorable. Yeah, I really hope that if you haven't read this poem, you'll pursue it. I've left the text at the bottom of this video. Yeah, I hope you'll really appreciate kind of the onomatopoeic sounds, like how he uses the word slime at the end. Just, yeah, after him going on and on about how beautiful nature is, for him to end on slime, it's such a strong, and yeah, I don't know what I really have to say about it other than that I really just love the whole thing that he's done here, and that I can only hope to have the musicality in my poetry that Gerard Manley Hopkins does. Awesome, thank you!